Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Toddy D's Pro Wrestling Podcast. If you don't know by now, you've been living under a rock, bro. I'm your host, Brooklyn's own Toddy D, and today in the house, I have from Middle Kingdom Wrestling in Shenzhen, China, I have the heavyweight champion of the world, the Zombie Dragon. Welcome, my man, to the podcast. How are you? What's going on?
Appreciate you having me on, Toddy D. I've been
My pleasure.
A big fan ever since I seen your thing with Buffa, and I was like, I gotta get in touch with this guy and gotta get on here, man. Like, I really dig your podcast and everything. Everything's pretty chill here, man. We're just dealing with COVID, like everywhere else. Trying not to get hit. But besides that, man, me, my wife, we're all good, bro.
I'm happy to hear that, and right back at you. It's a pleasure to finally get to meet you in person, over the Zoom. I mean, I've seen your matches. I love it. And the first thing, I'm just going to get right into it. I see you use the green mist. Now, is that from an inspiration from Tajiri, maybe the great Kabuki? Who was your inspiration for using the green mist? I have to just start that off the bat.
All right. So when I grew up, I knew a little bit about Muta from like WCW.
Okay, the great Muta, sure.
I think most of it came from like Tajiri when he was in WWE, because I started noticing like he would do it in different ways. Like I remember this one time he had a match against like Scotty 2 Hotty, and Scotty was doing the worm, and he did it right as he ended the worm. And I was like, man, that's cool that he found another way to do it. And so he was like my inspiration for doing the mist and finding like different creative ways of doing it.
Yeah, I've always been a fan of the mist. I mean, I've been watching wrestling forever. I see you got the Middle Kingdom Championship in the background. I love the belt, or I should say the title. So my question to you is, how long now have you been the Middle Kingdom Wrestling Champion? And take us, who you defeated for the title.
All right. So I've been the champion for exactly 550 days.
Whoa, CM Punk has nothing on you, bro.
Or I guess what's that? 47,520,000 seconds and counting.
Wow.
But amazing, I've been the champion for a while. Man, who have I beaten? Jesus, so many people.
Well, who did you defeat for the title?
I defeated Michael Sue for the championship.
Now, as you were aware, Buffa and I, we go back a long way. He's been on the podcast several times, and I've watched your matches with him. And not only do I see great competitiveness in the matches, but I also see a show of respect after the match.
Yeah.
So now you guys, would you consider yourselves allies or just respected, combatants in the squared circle?
I would consider us both, a bit of respect and a little bit of allies as well. Because me and Buffa have teamed before on a few blast off episodes. And I think with me and him, both same color guys in China, that kind of brings about a bond between two people.
Sure.
We have different history, but we also have similar history, both trained in the States, both have been to Japan. And, there's just this bit of a connection between both of us. And I think like when we wrestled each other, you can kind of see just everything just meshed up so well.
Oh, I definitely see a level of respect, without a doubt.
Oh, definitely.
I've watched the tapes. I've seen the matches. Now, I've seen several times where you guys will be, locking up, doing your thing, and you got guys like Little Johnny and Cold Ray. They're coming in and they're like doing all this interference. I'm thinking to myself, man, these guys are coming in, of course, they're taking advantage of both of you and Buffa because you guys just had a long 20-minute, 30-minute plus match. You're winded, you're tired. I want to see these guys come up against you guys when you're fresh.
Oh, yeah. There's no chance.
I don't think no chance. That's why they're always doing a sneak attack. Pearl Harbor job.
Exactly. Yeah. You got a pissed off Zombie Dragon, and you got a pissed off Buffa.
I see that.
Do you want to face those two guys?
I would want to. That's for sure. And I even asked him. I said, "Listen, not that you can't handle your own business because you're the champ. Obviously, 500 plus days as champion, you know how to handle your business." But I said to Buffa, I said, let me ask you something. You guys aren't a tag team because you're in a tag team with, I told him you're with DC Chen. I know he's your tag partner. But the bottom line is, do you see a future alliance with Zombie Dragon, even if it's short-lived, just to handle the business of these guys jumping you and Pearl Harboring you from behind? And he told me basically the same thing you said, that he would be up for it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like I said, we're on the same wavelength. You know what I mean?
Right.
And yeah, little Johnny might be a bit of a threat, but Cold Ray, I think we take him out. He's smart. I mean, he's calculated.
He's smart and sadistic, but I think you could take him out.
Oh yeah. If it's a one-on-one match, there's no way to jump us from behind. We're ready. You already did that trick.
Exactly. And that's what I'm about to get to. There? I noticed a couple of weeks ago, you took the mist and you loaded it into little Johnny. And I see he left. He had short-lived, but he left Cold Ray and he joined forces with you. Now, watching Blast Off episode 28 recently, toward the end of the match, I see Cold Ray. He grabbed your mist and he threw it in your face. He dumped it all over you, and then all of a sudden, little Johnny had a switchback where he aligned himself back with Cold Ray. Take me through the match. Explain to me what happened. What is this whole mystique with the green mist? How did it convert him and then bring him back to Cold Ray?
All right. So this actually goes back into the birth of Zombie Dragon, believe it or not.
Okay.
Zombie Dragon, the character, was born in Alabama, of all places. And the Left Hand Path, which was a group before I joined.
Okay.
They killed off the other character that I was. I mean, it was pretty gruesome. They tore off the mask. They burned it. Stabbed me in the chest. There was blood dripping. It was pretty gruesome for a live crowd.
Wow. I can only imagine.
And what controlled Zombie Dragon was this vial of blood. But once that blood was out, there was no controlling Zombie Dragon. And so once that vial was done, I was free to do whatever I wanted to do. And so I just kind of remixed what they did to me, and I did it to little Johnny to see if it worked. And it did.
Right. Well, it's funny. We talked about little Johnny in an episode, and Boofer and I said, does he not realize that he's a big guy to call him little Johnny? And he said to me, this is Boofer's words, maybe they're referring to little Johnny somewhere down south. I said, well, that's for another place and another time. I'm not going to get involved in that one, so we'll scratch that. But just a little funny anecdote on the side. So getting back to the Zombie Dragon, where was the birth of the Zombie Dragon? Who trained you, and how did you get started?
So training, I actually started at WWA4 in Atlanta. That's where I started. But I got my real formal training at PCW, which was also in Atlanta, by Stephen Platinum. He really took me to the next level and encouraged me to try more, encouraged me to be a character. And man, he's very integral to the birth of all of the characters I've done over the years. He gave me the confidence to try something new. So he was my original trainer, and he was one of those guys, man. He was always angry, but for the right reason, because he had that passion, and it brought out the passion in us. And
I'm a big fan. I'm a huge fan of the Zombie Dragon. From the mask down to your whole wrestling style, and you being the champ. I've been wanting to get you on for the longest time. I know we've been getting back and forth on emails trying to hook up with this, podcast. I'm just happy to have you on.
Yeah, man, I'm glad to be on, man.
So now, how long did you wrestle in the States before coming overseas?
Let's see. I wrestled in the States for, I want to say it was 10 years before I came overseas. So it was like a decade, and then I came overseas and did on year 3 now. Okay,
cool. So now were you for the most part always a singles wrestler, or were you a tag team wrestler for a while, or has always been singles?
Mostly singles. I've done tag teams here and there, but mostly singles. That was kind of like my forte.
Okay, yeah, and I can tell by your style. It's really good. I mean, your actions speak louder than words when you're in the ring. So I don't really see that a manager is necessary, for the Zombie Dragon. But there's a lot of competition out there. So basically, aside from Cold Ray and Little Johnny, is there like a number one contender as of right now that's gunning for the MKW title?
Yes. Well, besides Cold Ray and Little Johnny, they're the next up for contenders. After that, it depends on who wins the next series of blast-off matches. That will determine the next number one contender. Yeah.
Okay. And I've been watching it every week, man. I mean, we're on a 12-hour time difference, so I catch it on a Friday, especially if I have a podcast on a Friday. I got to make sure I do my homework, see who did what, who went over, who didn't. And, I love the podcast. It's really good. Hoping to get Adrian Gomez on eventually. I like to pick his brain. And
he'd definitely be on.
Yeah, we'll look forward to that. So now, Boofer is the IBEW champ. You're the MKW champ. And Big Sam, I know he's also a champion. Now, these are all separate. These are three separate companies, but are also intertwined together. Is that correct?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. All of the Chinese promotions are kind of like intertwined under that same umbrella. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. And how long have you been in wrestling in Shenzhen for MKW? How long have you been for that promotion for?
For the IBEW Cross MKW, that was their first event.
Right. No, for you, I'm saying for just MKW as a whole, how long have you been in MKW?
3 years.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
3 years. My entire time in China.
Right. Okay. So you really earned your stripes, and the title in the background definitely shows. But so now you're not part of the tag team tournament that's going on, right? You're just strictly singles.
Yeah, just strictly singles. I'm not a part of the tag team tournament. I don't think there's anyone left that would want a team with me that I haven't beaten.
Right. So now basically in the past, when you've tagged with people in the past, have you had the tendency of turning on someone, or have they turned on you for the most part? Because you seem to be more of like a fan favorite than a heel.
I don't think anyone was stupid enough to try to attack me in a tag match. No one's been that crazy yet.
I don't want to get a miss for their troubles.
Yeah, I think guys team with Zombie Dragon. They want that easy W. You know what I mean? Easy
so
win.
Now we're not sure, aside from Little Johnny and Cole Ray, because right now they're in contendership for the title. Who would you like to face that maybe you haven't faced yet?
I would like to face, even though we faced each other once, I would like to face Michael Sue again, because we never got a rematch. COVID hit and everything, and I was in Thailand, but we never got our rematch. And he ended up getting injured in Japan, but he's back to 100% now. So that's somebody I would definitely like to face again for the championship.
Sounds like a plan. I'd look forward to that match. So now, do you see any up and comers currently in MKW that you think you see a bright future for? Anyone that you have your eyes on?
First on that list would be DC Chen, Boofa's tag partner.
Right.
When he came to us, he was very athletic when he came to start training with us, and I just kept working with him every day. Started teaching him English, all of the move names in English, the terminology, and he caught on quite quickly. And I ended up getting a WWE Network subscription just for the class, actually. But he was always on there.
Okay.
And I told him to study guys like Eddie Guerrero, Regal, these different guys who had great athleticism, but also great footing. And he just really took that in, man. And that made a big impression on me. So he's definitely at the top of that list. Other guys who I see a lot of potential in, Plata Mascara. He's the heavyweight luchador guy. I would like to maybe get a couple of months to train with him. We're in different areas, but I would really like to train with him because lucha was like my background. So I think him being a bigger guy, he could really impress the crowd if I can really get the time to work with him. Right. And another one who's also a fan favorite in China would be Black Mamba. He's like
I've heard him also.
Yeah, he's like a staple in the Chinese wrestling community. He has a lot of respect. You can see like on our Chinese live streams when the fans comment, it's always nothing but respect for Black Mamba. He's as Chinese can get. So he's another one
to represent.
I put a lot behind.
Okay. That's cool. So basically you wrestled in the States for about 10 years and you've been overseas now. Now you said you were in Middle Kingdom for the last 3 years, but you were overseas there longer for 3 years though, so far, right?
I've been actually, has it been 3? It's been 3 years now. Yeah, it's been 3 years now. Yeah, I just did a lot in 3 years.
Yeah, it's a lot of traveling. So now basically now here in the States, the WWE, they're going to have their first live crowd in July next month. Now, have you guys started? Yeah. So have you guys started wrestling in front of live crowds, or is it like a small amount of people right now due to COVID for social distancing?
The last blast off taping we did, it was in front of a live crowd, but it was still kind of contained. But by the end of those tapings, we did another one at the mall that was just hundreds of people. So now we're pretty much back to live crowds. Yeah.
So you see it coming sooner rather than later, that you'll be back in front of live crowds.
Oh yeah, I think the new blast off episodes will be in front of a live crowd. So we're back to normal now.
So episode 29 to debut this Friday will have a larger crowd than the previous.
The next, it'll be, I think, episode 30. I think
30.
I could be wrong. We haven't filmed it yet, but we filmed those in July. Actually, we filmed those in July, and it's already been advertised for a live crowd.
Okay, very good, very good. So now you mentioned Big Sam earlier. He's a big dude, got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. Now I see him come out with Queen Marie with the stable, and he's got Uncle Money, and I believe I forgot the guy's name. He just became the belts.
Ash Silva.
Ash Silva, correct. Belt road and belt champion, I believe he is.
Yeah, Belton Road champion.
Belton Road, I got it reversed. Belton Road champion. So I seen them as a stable. So now is Queen Marie just a manager to all three of them, or is she linked also to Big Sam? Because they seem like they're more like a couple than just a manager wrestler. So
even though she's a part of the stable, I think her role is mostly with Big Sam,
right?
And Chairman Al is mostly with Uncle Money and Ash Silva,
right? Because I saw that Chairman Al in the past was a manager more to Big Sam, and now Queen Marie is there. So now my question to you is the reason why I'm mentioning this: if you and Big Sam were to lock up, say title for title, can Queen Marie be a deciding factor regarding interference in a match like that? How would you handle that?
Well, we've done that dance before. Me and
she's
versus Big
before.
Sam.
Okay.
Oh yeah, and of course she was definitely a deciding factor the first time.
Okay.
But once you learn all her tricks, you can't use them twice.
Right, exactly.
So unless she gets
come up with some new stuff. I got you.
Right.
Okay.
And I don't think she wants to be green. I don't think she wants her.
I hear you, man.
Her makeup face to be green. So I think she might be reluctant to another encounter with Zombie Dragon.
Well, I for one would get a kick out of it if she, were to meet the Mist. I would. As a fan, I would thoroughly enjoy that.
I would start the match with it.
Perfect. Now the thing is this: you're currently the champ. You've been a champ for over 500 days. Not to speak negatively, but nothing lasts forever. So now, when it's time for the Zombie Dragon to either step down, or if someone has his number, so to speak, and defeat you for the title, where do you see yourself a few years from now as a single star? Do you see yourself staying in MKW, or if an opportunity were to arise, say maybe back here in the States for like AEW or WWE, is that something you'd entertain?
Absolutely. I would more so entertain something with AEW. I just feel like with Tony in charge, he's I guess a younger mind, and he would be more open to the character. Well as if I got something with WWE, so to speak, I know that the character would have to be done away with. And that would be
rights, a name.
Yeah, that would be much shame, because I really do have fun doing this character, and so I think I would entertain like AEW, because I still freelance even though I work with MKW, because it also helps them grow, because I go and I represent the country in these other companies. So
right.
But if I wasn't the champion and my numbers up, and I would stay definitely MKW to help get guys better. Same thing as Luke was doing. Okay. But I would also, if there was an opportunity, a big opportunity to arise, I would absolutely take it.
Sounds like a plan, because I can see you actually more in AEW than WWE, because there are a lot of wrestlers there that have a similar build and style to you. And I can see some really cool, dream matches for the Zombie Dragon to partake in AEW. Not to say no to WWE, because they also have people that I think you'd mesh well with. But like you said, it's a younger mindset, different vision. So I can probably see you more as opposed to WWE going to AEW. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I've thought about that before, if I had the choice between the two. And then I think the AEW schedule is just a bit better right now for the rest. More
reasonable, right?
Yeah, much more reasonable. Keeps your guys more healthy,
Right. Because the thing I heard is currently, like, if you were to say travel here to the States, you would have, according to Boofer, you would have no problem coming here, but then the issue would be returning back to China. Currently,
exactly. That's the issue, coming back, and it's rough coming back in these borders, man. They're like really tight still.
That's what he was telling me. So. Exactly. And you're going through the same thing with your work visa as he is, correct? Like every 60 days, I believe you have to renew it or something.
It was. Now mine, the way I have my visa set up now, it's like every 2 years I have to renew. So I can, the 60
You
day
might want to talk to Boofa because he's
actually I did. Days. I told him I got him in touch with my agent.
Good.
So she can help him. Yeah, I got him in touch with my visa agent. So she's going to try to help him out a bit and get him on a more solid visa, because the 60-day thing, man, it is rough.
Right.
Those 60 days go by quick.
He was telling me, and matter of fact, one day we had the podcast. Prior to the podcast or right after the podcast, I forgot if it was before or after, he had to go to renew his work visa. And he's like, it's a good thing we're talking today, because I brought it up. And he was like, yeah, thanks for reminding me, because I have to go down today. And he was telling me how much like hell it is, So,
it is, man. And you just never know with like all the politics and everything that's going on. You never know. You might walk in and, they may be like, no, just because you're an American, they might just tell you no. And then it's like, well, what are you going to do? Where are you going to go?
Well, if they tell you no, I think you should go in wearing that mask and say, no, there's a reason why it's not be dragging. Spew that green mist right in that motherfucker's face and say, up that visa, pal. I'm the champ. Walk in with the title on your shoulder, wearing the mask, go in the gimmick.
The whole night.
Imagine. They'd be like, just give it to him. Just give it to him. We want no problems.
Just give it to him. Extended stay.
Exactly. Extended stay. So now you're originally from the States. So growing up, what kind of wrestlers did you look up to other than the ones who, spewed out the green mist, like the Tajiris of the world, the Kabukis and everyone else? Who else, were you drawn to adapt your style?
So a couple of other guys. The first guy I was drawn to was Raven. Just his overall presence and promo style was pretty cool. Because I grew up around that area where guys, yelling in promos, but he was always kind of like mellow, and it just kind of made you listen. And another guy I was really drawn to was Psychosis. I just loved his whole get up, the horns and the hair. I always thought that was super cool. And those were two of the guys that really like brought me into it, like that made me start like watching wrestling.
Some unique people you brought up, because a lot of people say, depending on the generation, if it's the 80s, they'll say, oh, Hogan, Savage, 90s, Stone Cold, The Rock. It's nice to hear other people that don't get the recognition they deserve.
Yeah.
Now, Raven,
it's always good to hear others.
Exactly. Were you more of a fan of Raven, his promos in ECW or WCW when he was in the Flock?
Oh, that's a good one. I would say that's because I grew up watching him in WCW, and I saw his ECW stuff later on when I grew up. And I'm gonna say the ECW because the fact that he had to go out and apologize after the deal he did with the Sandman,
right?
Like he was the birth of cancel culture. So I would say the ECW stuff was probably more hard hitting.
Now I'm going to give you some trivia here. I'll throw at you because I'm a couple of years older, and we'll leave it at a couple of years. Before he was
Make it multiple choice.
No, I'm not. It's okay. A 100. B no. Anyway, Raven. Before he was Raven, you do know he was in the old then WWF as Johnny Polo.
Okay. Yeah. He was, the dancing gimmick.
He was a manager. He had the whole hat, the polo. You look at that Polo, Johnny Polo gimmick, and you look at Raven. Where he started and where he got to is amazing.
It's insane.
Kind of like a Hunter Hearst Helmsley, bowing to the crowd, becoming Triple H. Like the metamorphosis is amazing.
Yeah, it's like a complete switch, complete opposites.
So for you as a Zombie Dragon, before you were the Zombie Dragon, you told me earlier you had different personas. Did you always don a mask, or were there times you wrestled just as yourself without a mask?
95% of my career, even when I first started, was always in the mask. I've only done one character without a mask. We just wanted to try something fresh at my old stomping grounds. And what was hot then was TMZ, like the news network TMZ.
Sure. Like the National Enquirer on television.
Yeah. So they were like, what if, we remove the mask and you just go out there and be you. We give you a microphone and you just shoot on this microphone. And I was like, are you sure? They're like, yeah. And I did it. But the shoots were about real things that I knew about people in our dressing room, which was like 5 feet away. And man, I got it. It was massive heat, man. Like, what were some of the things I talked about? I talked about like someone's mom who had just died, and he was in the front row. It was like some guy who was a horrible parent to his kid. He was like a few feet away. It was just, and you never knew who I was going to talk about. They just wanted to see that
shooting on all this.
Just shooting on people, man. It was insane. And I would come into the dressing room like, man, you're not going to talk about me this week, are you? It was fun though, man.
This is when you go, no, I'm not.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
So basically, back then you were more of a heel. It sounds like
absolutely, absolutely.
So you have that charisma and talent to be able to turn the switch on or off, heel versus face.
Yeah. And I was mostly face for most of my career, but once I met Stephen Platinum, my trainer, he had the idea to turn me heel, and I was like, "You sure?" And he just pushed me to do more, and man, it worked. I think being heel back then allowed me to like come out of a shell. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Because babyface, I guess, became easy, but being a heel, like, I don't know, it just gets your blood pumping, you know?
Right. Now for the zombie dragon character, for 3 years you've been wrestling the zombie dragon. Have you always been a face, or was there a transition from heel to face?
So the idea, funny you should ask that. The idea was to have the character heel when I first came to MKW. But what we didn't count on was the fact that the name dragon is literally in the character, and it's a part of Chinese culture.
Correct. So that's what I was about to say.
They would not boo the character, man. I was wrestling dirty. They didn't care. So after my first match, man, I just started switching everything to face, and it just took off immediately. Immediately.
And, Boof and I discussed that about the China, about the culture in China, him being African-American, you as well. They take more to having someone from overseas come into their country and wrestle for the company. Not that they don't want to cheer for their own people from that country, but it's like a switch for them, and it's something different, like an alternative. Yeah. So that's the reaction you've gotten?
Absolutely. And for me, like with this character, someone said something to me a couple of weeks ago that just keeps ringing with me. He said, Zombie Dragon transcends race.
Wow, well said.
But my friend said, Zombie Dragon transcends race. And that kind of makes sense because they don't treat me like an African-American or Chinese. They just treat me like this.
As the Zombie Dragon, as an individual with respect.
Exactly. It's just a thing. It's
as well as it should be. As well as it should be.
Exactly. As well as it should be. And they've always treated it well. And like you said, it's something different. So they're always like appreciative when they see the character. Man, the support here is unreal. It's kind of unmatched. If I make a new design, yeah, man, I put a design up and they're like, can I get this shirt? Can I get this on a mask? Can you? They just really support us.
It's all about networking, promoting yourself, selling yourself, coming up with stuff.
Exactly.
Aside from this podcast, I do another one that's non-wrestling related, and eventually we're going to come out with shirts. And I said, you know what? Why don't we have a mug on the desk? So if people see the mug, they're like, oh, where do you get that mug from? Oh, well, we have a website if you're interested. And it flows little by little. You have to start off small and you work your way up. Now, for the Zombie Dragon, with marketing now, I had asked Boofer, I said, do you have shirts? How about balloon radios? For the Zombie Dragon, you're a mass wrestler. So the first thing that comes to mind, obviously, is selling Zombie Dragon masks, like a Rey Mysterio kind of gig. Now, have you incorporated that?
Oh, man. So I had a mask supplier, but he ended up going out of business. He was in Mexico. He made some really good masks. So now I'm looking for another supplier in China. That's been a tough one, man, because it's so hard for them to create because the shapes and everything are so different.
It's hard on the top.
Yeah, and it's like leather and everything. But I was like, okay, maybe we could do it like the Mysterio mask, the Lycra Lucha mask.
Or you could do a plastic mask too. Like the old school Halloween masks, you put it over your face with the white, plastic around the back.
With the
so that way it can be like your mask, but just, like a cheaper plastic version. And the kids can wear like either Halloween time or go into the matches. It could be quite marketable. Just a suggestion. Yeah.
That's actually a good idea. I might check with maybe a place where they celebrate Halloween they would probably be able to produce them because they don't do Halloween here. Too scary.
Right,
So
gotcha.
I would probably have to find someone who can
but
do
it's
it.
good for the
Maybe in
matches,
Vietnam.
though. You know, you're a face. So all these kids ringside, once this COVID shit, comes to an end, God willing, you have a bunch of kids ringside wearing zombie dragon masks. That's a nice little paycheck on the side.
That'd be a nice little payday.
Yeah, exactly.
I can retire.
Exactly. And we spoke about that briefly and with Boofer and I. And when I watched your match, I brought up something to him and he got a kick out of it. And I'm going to tell you, I don't know if you heard it. Years ago when he was K Pusher, his build was very reminiscent to yours now. And I said to him, I was watching the match between you and Zombie Dragon, and it looked like you were wrestling your former self. And he
wow,
I didn't think about it that way. I said, yeah, because his build is very similar to the build you had, and your style. He used to be more of a lightweight. He's bigger now.
Yeah,
but when I watched your moves, I said it's like you're wrestling in the mirror.
That's crazy.
Minus the mask, you're wrestling your former self. And he was like, wow, I never thought of it that way, but you're right. I said, exactly. I said, you guys mesh very well in that ring. I mean, you guys gel very well together. I mean, I would like, as a fan, I would love to see either a title for title or just a non-titled bout. IBEW champ versus MKW.
I love to wrestle him again. I was telling my wife, like, out of everyone I've wrestled here, I think I've had the most fun working against Buffa. I would love to do it again. And I remember after the match, another guy who works with us, Voodoo or Greg.
Yeah.
He goes, best of 100, you and Buffa.
Best of 100. Forget the rubber match for match 3. We're going to go for 100. And if you guys do that, you're going to have to go to 101 because I have a feeling it's going to be 50-50.
Right, 50-50.
And talk about an Iron Man match. It's going to be an Iron Man 101 match. That's insane.
We might make history.
Exactly. So speaking of like Iron Man matches and matches of that magnitude, have you been involved, like say with ladder matches or, any other type of matches that are like special matches?
Yeah. Oh man, pretty much anything. Hardcore matches, ladder matches, pretty much just all out anything. Right. I pretty much do anything. Only thing I haven't had the pleasure of doing is a death match yet.
Yeah. Well, that's a pleasure you might want to avoid for a while.
Yeah. I want to do that one.
The word in the match says itself. Death match. Well, I kind of like living. How about
I kind of like
match?
Don't take the zombie thing too literally.
Exactly. So whether it's MKW or any other company, overseas where you are or back in the States, what wrestler or wrestlers would you like to lock up with that you've never had the pleasure of working?
Oh, man. Oh, what wrestlers would I like to lock up with that I haven't had?
Hard-hitting questions.
Oh, man, these are good questions.
Let's see.
Let's see. I would like to go one-on-one with Su Yung. I think our characters mesh well, and that would be a really good story. Another guy, I don't know if you know him, Sunny Days. He was on AEW. He does a lot of their production and graphics and things like that. We actually tagged before in Georgia before I left and he went to AEW, but I would love to go one-on-one against him. We have similar characters, but also very different. Who else would I like to work with? Dream match. I'll give you dream match.
Yeah, give it to me. Dream match.
Zombie Dragon versus Muda. That's one.
Wow.
That's one of them. Zombie Dragon versus
Take
Muda.
My money now.
Take my money now.
Yeah, that'd be a great match.
And the other one, just for kicks, Zombie Dragon with Chairman Al against Ultimo Dragon and Sonny Ono. I think that would be a lot of fun.
I had the pleasure of meeting Ultimo Dragon years ago. He wrestled first at NWA Cyberspace Shockwave Wrestling. He had, I had the pleasure of meeting him, and I remember him back in the days, draped in gold titles. I mean, around his shoulders, his waist, his arms. I'm like, how many companies does this guy wrestle for? I mean, he's like a title show. It was unbelievable.
Right. Yeah. He looks like a fashion show with belts.
Exactly. Now, you said that you would be represented by Chairman Al. So that means you would see yourself as the heel wrestling Ultimo Dragon.
I would absolutely do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because when I went to Japan, that was one of the things we did. They put Zombie Dragon with Chairman Al. And surprisingly, it just worked really well.
I can see it.
I was like,
I could definitely see that.
Huh. I was like, this might be a thing. Maybe not so often, but maybe this is something we could do overseas.
Right. Every so often, so you can switch things up.
Exactly.
So,
keep myself fresh.
Exactly. So with that being said, do you prefer being one or the other, a face or a heel? Like if we're up to you, would you prefer more, and why?
Ooh, that's a tough one, because when I'm heel, I could do like more, I don't want to say dangerous. I could do more pushing the boundaries when I'm heel.
Over the top stuff.
Yeah, I could do really over the top stuff when I'm heel. But when I'm face, I could sell more merch.
Exactly. See, that's the thing. Face equals merch. But a lot of guys I've spoken to in the past, they feel challenged, or locked up like in handcuffs being a face as opposed to being a heel, or sometimes vice versa, because some guys or women take more to one side than the other. Then you have other wrestlers that can play both sides, like the late, great Roddy Piper. Tremendous villain, tremendous face. Yes. Not all guys can do it. I mean, if you remember Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, he was a face his entire career.
Yeah, Ricky as a heel would be weird.
Exactly. I saw an interview earlier today before the podcast. It was about 11 minutes. I don't know if you ever heard of him, Chris Van Vliet on YouTube. He's a Canadian. I think he lives in either Florida or California now. He's got a tremendous YouTube page. He interviews all the big names. He had John Cena on, interviewing him about the Fast 9, about the movie. So he had asked him, if you go back to WWE, do you see yourself having a chance of becoming, a heel? Now, a lot of young fans, they turn around saying, oh, he's never been a heel. You're wrong. He has been a heel. He was the rapper with the Ruck Fools gimmick years ago, cutting all these raps on people, insulting people. But the kids today don't know about that. They just know about the multicolored, jersey wearing, you can't see me bullshit character. So basically,
they don't know about the lock and chain.
Right. So he's saying never say never in the interview. Basically what you said about becoming a face to a heel and transitioning back and forth. Now, if you have that charisma and that capability of doing both, I say so be it. The only thing I'm against is when they do it too often, like the Big Show.
Yeah, that's right.
He went from 1 week he's a face, then he was a heel. You have to have some solidarity, like be a face for a year or so, and then all of a sudden at like a main event, you lifting the guy's arm up saying, yeah, we did a good job. And then boom, like Paul Orndorff did the Hulk Hogan, the short arm clothesline, the heel turn, just like that. That exactly. I can see. And I can see someone like you doing that.
Oh, yeah. You don't want to see many flip-flops like I'm the Big Show.
Right. Not too many, but when the time is right, I can see you transitioning smoothly from a face to a heel or vice versa.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Because, man, my first run as Zombie Dragon, not in MKW, but back home in Alabama, it was obviously a heel character. And, man, some of the things I got away with doing were insane. I mean, I can imagine. Like I look back on some of that stuff, like man, I got away with that.
Right,
like,
exactly.
I really did that.
I can't like a Booker T. Tell me he didn't just do that or say that.
Yeah, tell me I didn't just do that.
Exactly. Someone's looking like, you really do that shit? Wow, oh, shit. Okay, but man, so now
I enjoy both though.
No, I can imagine. I've never had the pleasure of watching you wrestle as a heel, but I can visualize it. Because with the mist and the mask, I mean, that can go both ways. Crowd can eat it up and love it. Like you said, merch, masks. But as a heel, the person's down on his luck, the face, he's begging for the fans, help me. And all of a sudden, the mist comes right out. Yeah, so that works both ways, heel or face.
Yeah, man.
I'm a fan of that.
You got me excited. I might turn at the next show.
Well, Toddy D Wrestling better get a no, I'm only kidding. But if I was your manager, man, the ideas I would have, I would not only play dirty against the faces, I would put the heels in their places too, saying there's only one heel in this business, top heel.
Exactly. The king of heels, you know what I mean?
Exactly. I've been known to be like the next Bobby Heenan with my gift of gab and my dirty ways of like a Paul Heyman. People always said, nice. I see you being a manager somewhere between a Heyman type of guy. And I said, if I was given the opportunity to manage again, you got it.
Man, Heenan was actually one of my favorite managers growing up.
Oh,
I just loved his commentary, man.
Commentary is amazing. I mean, him and Gorilla Monsoon, the way they gelled together was amazing.
Yes.
Very comedic,
absolutely.
Always on point, and he never missed a beat.
Man, it was insane. I mean, he was just he was just natural. He was just so natural at it. That was him. That wasn't a character. That was him.
No, that was him just with the volume turned up. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
I've discussed this in the past. The best character is you with the volume turned right up.
Turn right up. Exactly.
Years ago, I had the privilege. We had a like one of those gatherings. We had like a Comic-Con kind of thing for the wrestlers, you know, and it was at the Hilton Hotel, and I was with NWA Cyberspace, and I got to sit at a table before the fans came in during lunchtime. Now it was just me who, you know, I was representative for NWA. I was an associate producer, but I'm sitting with these legends. It was me, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Paul Bearer. You had Tony Atlas. You had Spike Dudley, Devon Dudley. You had Dustin Runnels, and you had Test.
Oh, nice.
So I'm sitting with the late great Test. I'm sitting with all these legends and, you know, current wrestlers, and just to be a fly in the wall, listening to those conversations, and I told them who I was. On the inside, I was like marking out big time, but I had to remain professional because I'm an associate producer for representing a company at this convention. And the whole thing is, I'm saying to myself, holy shit, I'm with all these people I grew up watching. Like I'm popping in my head big time, marking out, but I maintain my level of professionalism. And the stories that day that I got to bend Bobby Heenan's ear. I was sitting in between Bobby Heenan and Paul Bearer. So to bend both of their ears and listen to their road stories, I mean, you can't put a price on that. It was amazing.
Yeah, man. That's how we learn, you know, coming up in the business. You know, you go with these veterans, you pick them up from the airport, and you just, you know, lend them your ear. They love to tell you. You know,
that's what I used to do. I used to pick up people from the airport. You know, Bobby Roode used to work for us at NWA Cyberspace. I picked them up every month at JFK. We'd go for, you know, drives. I'd tell them I see you being a champion one day. And just like the rapport I got to build with these legends has been, you know, wonderful for me. I'm very humbled by it. And now having this podcast and having guys on like you and Buffa and future, you know, wrestling superstars, I'm looking very forward to. It's like the next chapter in my life for wrestling. You know?
Yeah, man. It's fulfilling, man. You know, getting to be with all the different people, and you get to still be around wrestling. You know what I mean? You get to
I miss wrestling, but I'm kind of old now to do it. So I started in '92. I used to wrestle. I was trained by Johnny Rods. I worked at Gleason's Gym Wrestling, and then I had the opportunity to be a producer for NWA. And I got to meet all great people, you know, up to this point. So it's been a great road trip for me, and for you, you're just getting started. I mean, let me ask you this: when the Zombie Dragon's not kicking ass and taking names in the ring, what do you do for leisure activities?
So leisure activities, I got a couple. One thing I like to do, it's kind of weird, but in China, the older people, the elders, they like to go outside and they like to do like dancing. They do this dancing outside. And I just join them and I just dance with all the old people.
That's cool. Why not?
You got old man and old women, and then you got this black guy just doing the dances with them or trying.
Now, when you're out there trying to do your dance, is the mask on or off?
Oh God, no! They would take off. I would clear.
You see him running in different directions, right? Just like running for cover. Holy shit! What is this? You know, the dragon has come back.
Right, it's back.
But besides being the zombie dragon, you know, not that it's an ego thing, but because you wear a mask. Now, I guess it can be a plus for you when you're walking in the streets of China. Say you're going food shopping or going for a jog or whatever it is. Obviously, you're not wearing the mask. Now, as an ego thing, does it bother you that nobody recognizes you because you're not currently in your gimmick, or are you okay with that?
Oh man, I love it. That's why that's one of the reasons I
like being low key.
So long. I love it. I could just, because if I'm at a show and, you know, maybe I just don't feel like being bothered or just not having a good day, I can always take it out and just walk out the door. Nobody knows who I am.
Right. So you can like have a hoodie on, just chill out and be in the stands.
Have my hoodie, my face mask, some shades. No one would ever know.
Just make sure there's no.
So I actually enjoy it. Yeah.
But okay, that's cool. Because like Buffa, like I've spoken to him about it, and I said, you know, I told him being an African American, being a big guy, you know, obviously, even if they don't know you're a wrestler, they're going to know you're some kind of athlete, whether it's football, baseball, wrestling, because you're a big dude and you're an African American in China, which is, you know, it's a plus because you stand out, which is a good thing. And he told me it is, but sometimes he gets, you know, the nasty stares, like, who's this? And, you know, I'm like, what the hell, man? It's 2021. Who gives a shit what color you are, what race you are, what ethnicity you are. We're all people. I never got that, man. You know, if I don't like you, I don't like you because you're just an ass clown, you know?
Right.
And I like you because you're cool no matter who you are. Doesn't matter.
Exactly.
You know?
And I can attest to it, man. Like being without the mask is when like the racism or discrimination or
that's when it kicks in.
All the looks. That's when that starts, when I'm without it. Like they'll support me with this, you know,
because you're a character.
If this comes off.
Correct.
You know, and it's weird because, man, like, again, China's such a super political place where like now, right now, like if I go outside, people are actually really friendly to me without it. You know, they'll, hello. But if the government puts out like a bad article saying, you know, foreigners are bad people, then it will be like a switch and you can feel it as soon as you walk out the door, man. It's wild.
Have you had any like really bad negative encounters at all, or for the most part, it's like they're just quiet about it?
What's the worst thing that I've had happen? I try not to let stuff really bother me. What can I remember? Mostly it's stuff like I'm walking down the street and like a parent will move her child to the other side because they think I'm going to take their child or something like that.
Oh my God.
And it got really worse during COVID. Oh my God, I could never like get on an elevator with people. I always had to take my elevator by myself because no one would get on with me or nobody would want me on with them. And then like when you walk past people, they cover their nose and things like that. You know, just really messed up stuff.
Wow.
With children, I think it's worse because they don't really know what's proper to say. You know, so they'll say stuff like, "You're black." You just stupid stuff like that, but I just try not to let it bother me.
Oh my God, give me a minute.
It's like,
holy shit, I'm black.
Hello, black person. Hello, yellow person. You know, it's. But like I said, I try not to let it bother me, man. I just go about my day and get home to my wife and just do what I do, man.
So now you mentioned your wife. Now, where did you meet your wife?
I met her in Harbin, China.
Okay, so is she of Chinese descent?
Yeah, she's Chinese. Yeah.
Okay. How long have you been married for?
We've been married for 2 years now.
Oh, congratulations.
Yep.
For me, it made 10 years in March, but I've been with my wife for 24 years overall.
Oh, man. Hold on.
Yep, I got
there. It is. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I've been with her for 24 years, married 10, and we knew each other 10 years before that. So I know her for a total of 34 years.
Wow. Oh, man. Congrats.
Yeah, we did everything in reverse. We were together, and then we got married. I mean, we got married in 2011, and we were together already for 14 years prior to being married.
Wow.
So, there's a lot of longevity there. And before you were married to your wife, how long were you with her prior to being married?
We were together for almost a year before we decided to.
So you guys have some time in there. That's cool. So we had any future zombie dragons in the future, or?
I already have a son back home, so we don't want any more.
Oh, how old's your son?
He is 12 now.
12. Okay, so that's from a prior relationship, obviously.
Yeah, from a prior one. Yeah,
my math is correct.
Yeah, it didn't work out. But yeah, I got a 12-year-old. He's a good kid.
Is he a wrestling fan?
Yes.
So how does he feel about his dad being a superstar? That's got to be really cool.
Oh man, he loves it, man. He'll create like different stories, like Zombie Dragon did this because of this, because he watches a lot of anime, so his imagination is just popping.
So he could be like a future booker.
Yeah, he probably could, man.
Telling the story. You got that creative. Where is it? I got it over here somewhere. Where is it? I had it. Oh, well, I guess I lost it. I was going to pick up my pen and say I got the creative pen, but I don't know where it went. I must have dropped it. But
I got many of them.
So that's cool that your son's into wrestling because, being in the business, I have friends of mine that are huge wrestling fans like me, and they have kids. And some of their sons started out fans, but they got bored of it. Me, one of my biggest catchphrases is, been a fan since 77. I'm showing my age. And I've never stopped being a fan. I mean, I've seen every WWE pay-per-view live since its inception. I've seen every WrestleMania, and I've seen every other pay-per-view live, whether it was on closed-circuit television, pay-per-view, being actually there physically. or then the network to the Peacock channel. I've seen it all. That shows my age. But
that's amazing, man.
I'll never stop watching it. There's a lot of storylines and shit I don't like anymore, but I have been enjoying Middle Kingdom Wrestling. It's been a great, fantastic alternative. I love watching your matches. Nice. I like Big Sam. I like all of them. They're all unique characters, and all of you guys have something to bring to the table, which I happen to be a fan of. Now, absolutely. I noticed that there's not really much of a women's division.
That's right.
Right, but I was informed eventually after COVID, they may consider having a women's division.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting in China with women's wrestlers. So for whatever reason, it's hard to get the Chinese women to pursue wrestling, and it's weird, because Japan is just around the pond, and they got like companies dedicated to only female wrestling. Longer. Yeah, right? But even in like places like Vietnam that I've been to, there's female wrestling. Singapore is female wrestling. Even in Nepal, there's female wrestling.
Right.
And I was like, it's just here. So I think we need to do something collectively to get the women to see that they can do it. Because all they see is, the different men doing wrestling. I think it might be worth investing, bringing some of the Asian women in from other countries and having them to kind of headline shows. And maybe, that'll lead to some Chinese women saying, I want to try this. I want to give this a try.
Hopefully transition. Because I think wrestling in China for the men has really blown up in the last 5 years. Is that correct?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's definitely changed from the last 5 years. I look at MKW because they were here from the beginning. I look at them then and now, and it's like day and night.
Big difference. Yeah, that's what I figured. Well, with guys like you, Bufa, Big Sam, Little Johnny, all these characters, they're going to make Middle Kingdom Wrestling a huge success because you guys have a good following. You have experience. You've wrestled other places. You've been properly trained. And now I call it playing it forward. And that way, by you forwarding your experience,
like you said,
play it forward. Exactly. And, I see that's how a company grows, by people not keeping their secrets to themselves, but sharing it amongst others.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Right. And we're fortunate enough where, like the younger guys, they'll always come to us and ask for help. They'll reach out to either myself, Bufa, Big Sam, or somebody with experience, and they'll say, hey, can you help me with this? Can you agent this match? Can you blah, blah, blah. So I'm glad they're not hesitant to ask for the help. Some guys back home, just want to do their own thing, and they're kind of afraid to come to the veterans. But here, they're more open to ask for help.
Well, that's good. They should be humble, because if someone like you with your experience, or Boof or Big Sam, and they say, listen, I think you should do it this way next time. Let me give you some advice. If I'm that person, I'm going to sit under the learning tree and listen to what the Zombie Dragon has to say, or Boof or Big Sam, whoever it is, because these are established guys that know their stuff. So why not sit under the learning tree and grow as a character and learn, so that way we can all be successful, as a company. That's what it's all about.
Exactly.
And if you're going to be hesitant,
that's what it's all about.
You shouldn't be in that type of business.
Exactly.
So with the Zombie Dragon as a wrestler, what's your workout regime like? What do you do to stay in shape?
Oh man, all types of ridiculous home workout exercises, because going to the gym is kind of a pain now. But I got a bunch of YouTube videos. I got like a playlist, and I pretty much just work out at home and doing yoga, because the character has to be like
has to be able to flex the bend, right? Exactly.
Yeah, so a lot of yoga and dancing with the old people.
That's hilarious. I mean, I've seen Chinese people even here in the States, like on the corners, they'll be meditating or like breathing, doing like certain exercises. The dancing I never seen, but that sounds pretty.
The dancing you won't see the dancing, but here, man, it's live, man. They'll have their big boom boxes, and you just see a crowd of grandmas, man, just getting it.
Just don't tell Boo for that, because he'll get jealous about the boom box. Be careful with that.
That might be a funny scene with his boom box.
But it's funny, because with the dancing, we may not see the Chinese people do it here. We'll see like maybe homeless people or bums, dancing for change. You got some cash?
That's true.
Like a berserker, husk, looking for the handout.
Right, doing the Booker T thing.
Booker T, exactly. 5-time begging champion. But that's too funny. So with your exercises, you don't really use like free weights or cable weights. It's more of like doing like for stamina.
Yeah, push-ups and things like that. Cardio. Yeah, mostly for stamina. Yeah, because man, like training with these guys, especially like at one point I was like the only trainer, so man, I had to keep that cardio up, and I would have these guys like running miles, man.
Right, so you don't blow up. Exactly.
Yeah, blow them up, man. Because I always tell them like, you will get blown up eventually in a match.
Eventually, sure.
And I want to see how you function when you're blown up. If your stuff is crisp and clean when you're blown up, we don't have to worry about it when you're good.
That you don't panic. Exactly.
Yeah, you don't panic. Yeah.
Right. That's pretty interesting.
I think that helped out a lot because these blast off tapings we do, they're actually really long, man. There are a lot of matches in between those 3 and 4 days.
Yeah, because that's what Booker told me. Like each episode is about 52 minutes to an hour, but I think you guys film like 3 at a time, so you stretch it out.
We film like 3 or 4 episodes at a time. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I've done my homework.
Yeah, and for me having more than one character in MKW, I have to, I might have a match as Zombie, have a break, and then have another match as Curry. So I got like multiple matches to go out.
So you're like the jack of all trades. You're all over the place.
Yeah, man, all over the place, man.
But that's even better for you, though.
Yeah,
that'll make you grow as a performer. So now, when you guys do the blast off tapings, is that where you hold your training sessions also, or you train somewhere separately?
We have another place. We have 2 rings. We have a training ring and the show ring. The training ring, it's not too far from where we have the show, but it's at a pretty much secluded place. The MKW's own facility for where we train at. It's a pretty chill place.
Okay.
And that's where we pretty much do our training.
Basic week, like say like Monday through Sunday, like Monday through Friday. I know Friday is blast off. So you guys wrestle shows during the week. When do you guys train? Is it during the week or on the weekends? Like, what's your schedule? Like your time off like?
The schedule is I'm not in Harbin now, but the schedule has always been Monday through Friday. Unless it's show week, then it'll be like Monday through to the show day, or they'll get that one day off. So what we're going to do this time before the next set of tapings, I'm going to go to Harbin July 17th. I think we're going to film on the 23rd. So I'll go in a couple of days early and start training around with some guys, getting them, knocking some rust off, and ready for the tapings.
The ring rust can be a real pain in the ass. Trust me, I know.
And you ain't lying.
Yeah. So now, when you travel, does your wife come with you?
Yeah, most of the places she comes with me. Like most of the shows in China, she comes with me. She went to Thailand with me. She went to America with me, and she really enjoyed seeing like the different types of
different
crowds.
Styles, right?
Yeah, different styles. Man, it was crazy, especially like in Thailand. I got a video of her, like she's hanging on the rails with the crowd, like just
getting into it. That's awesome.
Yeah, getting into it, man.
So basically, I'm going to take a little guess here. Originally, she wasn't really much of a wrestling fan. You kind of turned her on to it, and she became one by watching her husband wrestle and kick ass as Zombie Dragon.
That's exactly what happened. She didn't know much of what wrestling was, and then she came to actually our first date. I had training that night, and the date was going so well. I was like, "Why don't you come to training with me?" And she came to training with me, and she was like, "What is this?" Yeah.
I went through the same thing as you. I had the same exact
experience.
Back in '97, I had a 3-way hardcore match, tables, ladders, and chairs, but it was a practice drill. So my wife, then girlfriend, I was just barely a girlfriend. We were just dating, and she says, "Hey, what are you doing today?" It was a Saturday. So I told her that I was wrestling on the side of, working my regular job. And she didn't think I was as serious about it. She said, maybe, he's lying or he's joking around. So I said, listen, I got to go down. I have to do a TV tape and we're doing a practice. Do you want to come? And she's like, yeah, okay, I'll come. My guys have to say, yeah, bullshit. You're not doing that. I took her and I got into the ring. I started beating on these 2 guys that beating on me. I powerbombed the guy through a table. I got choke slammed. And when I landed, I cut my forehead and I was bleeding. And it wasn't planned. I got hit on the canvas pretty rough. So I gave her a quick wink. And then as we're wrestling, when we finished, I was bleeding. I got the towel. I said, listen, I'm going to go grab a shower. You want to get some lunch after this? She's like, yeah, okay. Like she couldn't believe it. Like what the fuck just happened, So it's funny that your experience with your wife is kind of similar. Like, you took her to a match and she's probably thinking, what have I gotten myself into? This is crazy.
She probably was. But once she like warmed up to it, man, she'll come to the shows, and I can hear her out of the crowd.
That's awesome. That's fan support. I love it.
Yeah, man, that's support, man. That's that
root for your man.
Support.
Exactly.
Yeah, root for your man.
That's awesome. So
yeah, she loves it, man. She I don't have it with me, but she designed my that entrance robe, that kimono that I have.
That's awesome.
She helped
I like
design that thing. Yeah,
really?
she designed that really nicely. Yeah.
I'll tell you, between your wife and Boof's girlfriend, very talented.
Yeah, man. I think we both got lucky. Me and Boofa got lucky.
Yeah, you guys hit the jackpot, both of you.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
I wish you guys continue success with that, because it's great to have a support system. I mean, if your wife's on board,
man.
Yeah,
especially like during COVID.
Yeah, especially during COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I used to call her my agent, not just my wife, my agent.
Exactly. She's your
you want to book me? Talk to her.
I'm about to say, be careful saying that, because she's going to want the percentage.
All right, she's going to want the percentage of the. She takes my match fee.
It's more like, what have you done for me lately? Percentage or no agent? This isn't free. Don't take advantage because we're married. I want that payout.
Yeah, I want that payout.
Exactly. Hook me up. No, there's no romance without the finance.
That's a good one. No room. Exactly. No romance without the finance.
But speaking of finance, according to Boofa, MKW is a pretty well-paying gig where you're not really considered indie wrestlers. Like over here, we call them the weekend warriors or monthly guys that get a very rare opportunity to showcase their talent. But you guys have like a consecutive gig with MKW. To my understanding, you guys can wrestle over 4 or 5 days in a week and wrestle solid, where you don't have to really worry about the paydays.
Yeah, you don't have to. Yeah, you can really live off of it, man. It's much different.
That's wonderful.
I think what it is like wrestling is so new in China. It's not overly saturated, and people just have more funds. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And it just works in our favor so well.
That's the key word. You just said it's not overly saturated. And that's the problem here in the States. Every other, avenue or city or like area in wherever you are, there's wrestling here, wrestling there. And I love, for me, the more the better. But when you saturate it, then people aren't going to be as into it. Like, I saw that yesterday, And that's another thing I wanted to get your take on. I'm an old school fan. I've been watching wrestling since 1977. So for me, the little things mean more than all the crazy flippity floppity stuff. Like back in the day, I'll take Jake Roberts, for instance. I want your take on this.
Oh, that's a good one.
When he would go like this and he did the short arm clothesline, you knew it's set up for the DDT, and that was it. I watch matches today. I'm not saying you guys, but other companies, I'm not going to bring up names, but I see these guys doing top rope spike DDTs, flippity floppity flu, and barely get a 1 count. So I'm thinking to myself, why is it that you'll do 999 flippity floppity moves and then number 1000 should make a difference for a 3 count? To me, it makes no sense. There's no psychology. Give me your take on that.
I feel like, and this is just my opinion, I feel like that there's a direct correlation between that philosophy of wrestling and the fact that it's on a decline. You know what I mean? Things are cleaning up back home, but like I can see ratings getting lower. I can see fan attendance not as high as it was like you said in the 80s and the 90s. It's not believable. Granted, people know it's not real, but our job is to suspend disbelief. And correct. I feel like as a whole, we're not even doing that anymore. We're not even trying to suspend disbelief when, like you said, somebody does a spike DDT off the top rope and kicks out at 1. As a fan in the audience, and I see it, I'm just like, oh, okay, this is clear. It just takes me out of it. And
it's and then you got to say, what's it going to take to get a pin? And I think the reason why people aren't as involved in the match, the fans, this is the reason why, right here. People are too busy looking at their phones. They're too busy doing this during a match, which I think is totally disrespectful. Because if you're going, whether it's to a wrestling match, to a rock concert, a movie, you should be invested for the thing that you're supposed to be watching. You can do all this bullshit after the match or the concert or the movie, whatever it is. You should be invested at the venue that you're at. If I'm there for a Zombie Dragon match, I want to watch Zombie Dragon kick ass. I don't give a shit about my Facebook, my Twitter, or how many likes I have. I can check that shit out after the match. And when people
are
do
pretty
it
much
off.
People are just there to like, promote themselves. Like, oh, I'm here. They're not watching.
Exactly. They can be ringside, like you said. And instead of watching the Zombie Dragon match, they're going like this. Wow, look at this. Watch the fucking match. Don't be losing shit.
Watch the match.
You're there. Man, I mean, you're there in person, man. Take it in. Because it's not every day that some people can afford to go to a match. So if you're there, take that time and enjoy it. And like you said, they're not waste invested. That seat. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like all the, I mean, I'm not against like flippity floppity moves, but they have to make sense. Like if I watch a match start off on a slow build and you work your way up little by little, a couple of false finishes, that's fine. And say the last move is like a 450 splash and you get the pinfall, that's cool. But as long as you didn't do all that same shit throughout the match, why is it that all of a sudden now he's finally tired after 500 splashes? It took 500. The first 499 didn't mean shit.
Exactly, man. I hate
splash,
it. Like,
one flippity floppity, like Jeff Hardy, for instance. He'll go off the top rope with the senton, and he'll get the 3 count. He's not doing the senton after senton throughout the entire match. But I see a lot of guys doing stuff like that, and it drives me crazy.
When I think about like guys who did it well, I think about guys like Dynamite Kid against Tiger Mask. They did it well. I think about guys like Eddie versus Ray back in like WCW or even their WWE stuff. They did it well. There was story behind it. There was meaning behind what they did.
Exactly.
But a lot of guys now, like I think the problem is like younger guys now back home, you tell them, all right, hey, go study Rey Mysterio. They'll study the flips, but they don't study the reason why he did
the psychology, why he did it.
They don't study that part. I think it gets lost in translation. And so now we have an entire generation of guys who are athletic as hell, but at the same time, people aren't invested in what they're doing. And that creates more people during the show using their phones. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They're not invested into it anymore.
That's all I see is the phones. And that's another thing I wanted to ask you. How do you feel about wrestlers doing the leg slap city, so to speak? They're always cracking their legs. How do you feel about that?
Funny enough, I remember the WWE put the thing out about the no leg slapping. I loved it. So I actually, guys who have a tendency to do it, I showed them several ways that I do it where I don't slap the leg. So we have a couple of guys that had that bad habit of slapping their legs. And so what I did was I took them, here are several different ways to get sound without slapping their legs, because people are going to look for you to slap your leg. So here's something else you could do. Here's something else you could do. Be innovative. Don't do the same thing this guy's going to do, because I guarantee you slapping your leg is not going to look as good as when Tajiri does it.
Correct. Because it's like second nature for them. And the response you just gave me, word for word, is basically the same response that Buffa gave me. He said the same thing. He don't do the leg slapping thing. There's always an alternative way to do the suspended belief, for the crowds, have them, in suspense. There's ways of doing it without being seen. Like, so someone go, oh, I saw what he did. There's other ways of doing it so that you don't get pointed out. Or, I know what you're doing. I know the secrets. No, you don't know the secrets. You know some of the bullshit you read about online, but you don't know a true wrestler who knows the secrets and ins and outs like you and Buffa and other guys. They won't do it, I feel, because they know that you're not going to get over slapping your leg.
Yep, you won't. And I think for me, a good example of that is when I went to Vietnam. There were a couple of guys, did slap their legs. And then when I wrestled this kid, I forget what his name is, but I wrestled this kid and I gave him like a shotgun drop kick, and I didn't slap the legs. It was heard throughout the entire room, and people were like just seared, like he really kicked him in the face.
Right.
How the fuck did he do it? But yeah, man, it really helps to that believability to just have something alternative to do.
I agree, because also with a leg slap, if you get into a barroom brawl and you punch somebody in the face, you're not going to hear a smack. You're not going to the guy go down picking up his teeth. You're not going to hear a smack noise.
He's going to be down.
That's only in the movies, Yeah,
man.
Like when I was a kid.
It's only in the movies.
Yeah, and you saw a fist fight and a guy would get punched in the face. You hear pap, pap. And when I got into a fight the first time when I was younger, I didn't hear no pap, pap. I just saw stars.
There wasn't no pap, pap.
No.
There was no leg slapping.
Yeah, it was lights out. It's just crazy. It's, you know what it is? It's different generations where they do things differently. Like back in the days, there were territories. You would drive from town to town. And like you said earlier, you'd go be under the learning tree or be in the car telling road stories and learning from the veterans. And that's where you got your education. Now today, they get 5 months of training. They just get thrown out, you know, under the cameras, whether it's NXT or wherever it is.
Man,
and they're not ready. You can see a lot of guys that I can tell are not ready to be in that spot.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Because I part of me still feels like the young guy, but I feel like so much has changed since I first started.
A veteran now, yeah.
It's weird, man. It's so weird for me to be in this position because I feel like I'm tied to this and I'm tied to that, and man, it's kind of sad to see what it's become. Because there was, when I was coming up, there was a lot of, or when you were coming up, there was a lot of respect, a lot of honor. Guys tried to protect the business, at least in some way. I think now, man, people don't even try to protect it. There's no suspension of disbelief.
No kayfabe.
It's just, man, it's a shame because it could be so much better. I think as a whole, like our entire community needs to come together and be like, look, there's a problem. We need to fix it. You know, it's so many, you know, finger points, you know, blah, 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 blah. But we can fix the performers. It's our job to keep them invested.
Right.
What are we doing wrong?
Not your fault, but it's your job to try to fix it.
Exactly. What did Paul Orndorff and all those guys do right that we're doing wrong? Why did they make money and why are we not?
It's funny you mention that, and I can answer that actually. But right before WrestleMania 1, the first WrestleMania, March of 1985, I'll take you back. Guys like Paul Orndorff and Roddy Piper, they were very protective of the business. And they weren't happy about Hogan bringing in Mr. T. Because back then, a wrestler looked at it as an insult. You bring this Hollywood guy to come in, I got to do a job for him. I've been doing this for years, and you're going to make me look like shit. So this nobody can come in just because he's a big star on TV and make me look like a chump. It's not going to happen. And then Hogan tried to explain it to him. I understand what you're saying, but you're not seeing the big picture. We are going to go from a regional promotional territory to a conglomerate and become sports entertainment and be known not just all over the United States, but, you know, overseas, blown up, you know, big
over the
time.
world.
So basically, with Mr. T entering WrestleMania, you know, he was a big action star. He was in Rocky III. He was on the A-Team. So he was known as this badass character. He was a former bouncer. So guys like Roddy Piper are like, I'm not jobbing to this chump. You know, I'm a pro wrestler, and he's not going to make me look like a piece of shit in the ring just because he plays B.A. Baracus on TV on the A-Team. And basically, Orndorff had the old school mindset also. So Hogan was trying to make them realize, I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, by bringing in entertainers that we can even bring into the ring, we'll make it blow up, because that's when the Rock and Wrestling Connection was going and everything was starting to change. Now, me as a fan, I'm not dumping on WWE because that's what I grew up watching. But I feel once Vince McMahon bought all the talent, not just buying WCW, but way before then, he took all the talent from AWA, Mid-South, Tennessee, Florida, you know, wherever, you know, USWF, I think it was, or UWF. He went to all these different promotions and he grabbed all the talent, you know? So then eventually all the talent that got grabbed, all the main guys and women, those companies just folded. And
he killed the territories.
WWE. So now let's say Zombie Dragon was wrestling in the mid 80s to late 80s during the Hogan times into the 90s. Now guys like Zombie Dragon, Boofer, they can't go and travel from town to town and get their education by going to different territories, because now they were all saturated. They're all bought up by McMahon. And now you only have that one place to perform, to create and show your talent. And you can't have every wrestler go to then WWF. So now what? And that's when the indies became a thing, because there were no more territories.
Right. That's true. That's exactly what happened. Yeah, he killed the territories.
So that's the reason why things have changed with the leg slapping. You know, fast forward to 2021, people are doing things because they think that's what they have to do, because they don't have that opportunity to go to territories and learn from legends. You know, there's no more like old school guys that can show them the way, unless they happen to travel and go to a town on an indie show. Other than that, they're not going to get that opportunity that other wrestlers had. And that's like what I think the business changed.
Right. And like you say, picking up talent from the airport, those are opportunities a lot of people just don't get. You only need one person for that. You know what I mean? So
exactly.
There aren't a lot of ears to lend. And like, like we said earlier, it's oversaturated too. And it's a shame, man. I think things might get better. At least we have an alternative or a couple alternatives now. There's wrestling every day of the week back home now, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I mean, Mondays you have Raw. Tuesdays, I believe, is Impact Wrestling. And also AEW does a late night thing on YouTube. Wednesdays is AEW Wrestling. Also Tuesdays now is NXT because they changed from Wednesday to Tuesday. Thursday, I believe, I don't know if Tuesday or Thursday, one of those days is Impact Wrestling. And then Friday you have SmackDown.
Right.
So there's like wrestling every day. And it's good for the fans to watch and do a little comparisons here and there. And my question to you is, recently WWE is being accused now of about to sell their company. Have you heard about that? And if so, what's your take on it?
Wait, so I don't know what happened, but could you explain to me what happened?
Okay, yeah. So basically, recently there were a bunch of releases that WWE had. They got rid of Braun Strowman, Aleister Black. They got rid of what's her name? See, it's like I can't remember some of these names now. She Ruby Riott from the Riot Squad. They released her. They released a woman from NXT. I think Santana Garrett or something like that is her name. They released Lana, the ravishing Russian that used to manage her husband.
Oh man, I didn't know they released Lana.
Yeah, now known as Miro. So they released a lot of people. So now and also Samoa Joe was released, but now he just came back to NXT. He made an appearance. So they brought him back, which is good because Samoa Joe's a good pickup. But to release someone like Braun Strowman, at first I was like scratching my head saying, that's a main event player. I mean, he just got out of matches with Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Bobby Lashley, Drew McIntyre. So he was wrestling main events. And then it made sense. I was listening to some podcasts and they said that the reason why he probably got released, he was getting paid like $1.5 million to $2 million. And they feel like his main event status kind of died out 2 years ago because they meaning WWE, didn't manage him correctly to become that big monster. And now that they have that guy almost with AJ Styles, he's the next big man. So the way they look at it is, why have Braun Strowman if we got a guy even bigger than him?
Right.
So that's like their way of thinking, WWE. So they're saying for them to be releasing a bunch of people lately, like one after the other, not just wrestlers, but people in the lighting crew and camera crew, whatever it is, they're releasing all employees, all different parts of the job. So now there's rumors going around that Vince McMahon might be selling WWE. I don't see that happening. The guy's going to be running the company until he dies. I mean, he doesn't know any other way of life.
Yeah.
So can you see that happening, or do you think that they'll just keep on working as a family-owned company from generation to generation?
I think he's going to keep it in the family. I don't think he would sell it out to an outsider, especially because his life is invested into it, and it was given to him by his father, right?
So yeah, he purchased the company in 1982, I believe, from his father.
82. So yeah, I don't see him.
Right? Yeah.
I don't see him selling. I mean, he already has money. I don't see him selling it off. I see him maybe passing it down to Hunter or his daughter or someone in his family who he knows.
That's what I mean. I think that's the best bet.
Yeah,
but I think they really need to rebuild because right now AEW, in my opinion, they're not like a competition like WCW was during the Monday Night Wars. But AEW, like we mentioned earlier, is a great alternative.
Yeah, it is. It's a really good alternative.
That's more of like a younger fans' perspective to watch matches. Not that I don't like AEW because I love it. But someone like me, I'm 50. Okay, so I come from the old school generation. But the WWE, they're not pumping out like old school stuff. And I get it. You have to move with the times, which I'm all for. But I'm not for doing things that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You got to make sense in a ring. When you're having a match, you need to have that ring psychology. You need to be able to create a match from start to finish. Buffa told me in his interview, he likes starting from the ground and working himself up. He said, it makes no sense if you start off just kicking the shit out of each other where it's all
exactly.
because where does it go from there? Right.
Yeah. Where does it go from there? Exactly.
You want to see progression,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, progression. My old trainer, him and his wife used to work in theater a lot. So he put that experience into pro wrestling. And I kind of use some of his logic when I come up with stuff like, okay, what's the end of the match? I come up with that first. What's the end? Now let's tell a story. How do we get there? Instead of just, just going and here's the finish,
That makes sense though. That's an educated wrestler who knows what he's talking about. And I feel that's what we're lacking in today's wrestling world, because not many people know how to tell that story or how to create from start to finish. Like you, for instance, you're hip to it. You know what to do.
Right. Yeah. I wish it was taught more, I mean, we do what we can here by teaching guys, the meaning of different things.
Yeah, it seems like
it's going to get better. Yeah. It's going to get better over time. But like I said, back home, it's so saturated and guys are just, burning their wheels going this show, that show. They don't really get the time to sink in somewhere and just really learn,
Right.
It's
but like with you guys, it's like you guys have like a blank easel where you can paint and create from the beginning and teach these newcomers how to do it the correct way. With the saturation here in the States, you got just one big clusterfuck in plain English where no one knows if they're coming. They don't know if they're coming or going. And I see it in the matches. Yep. I saw a scene in AEW, a wrestling segment. It was like months ago. And the guy has one guy in the corner. It was like a big run, and everybody's like beating the crap out of each other in the ring. And this one guy's got the guy by the hair. And as he's punching, it's not even like a powder puff rub off the head. The fist is like totally missing. It's like air punches. And the camera guy, he's like zoomed into the air punches. And I'm like, I'm saying to myself, switch the camera angle, move it, do something, because you're filming air. What are you doing? And it's just lack of experience.
Lack of experience. Yeah, lack of experience and a lack of care on the performer's part and a lack of experience on the camera's people part. Because, WWE, like you said, they've been here forever. They have that experience. They have those camera. I've seen people, upset about the Jericho falling off the cage thing.
Right. The breakaway. Yeah. The crash pads.
You wouldn't have those things in WWE, man, because they plan ahead. They know what's going on. The camera people are hip. The lighting people are hip. The production company is hip. They know what's going on. You know what I mean?
You're exactly
and like
correct.
You said, it's back home. It's one big clusterfuck, man. Like, and that's the
best way to put it. It's the best way to put it.
That's the best way to put it, man. It is a clusterfuck of nobody knows which way is what.
But with those crash pads, I bet you Mick Foley, back in '99, whatever year it was, when he wrestled Undertaker at the Hell in the Cell, and when he went off the top through that announce table, I bet he wishes back then there was some crash pads, because he
man, that was insane, man.
Totally insane.
And one thing, and it's funny you mentioned the Mick Foley thing, man. Like that happened in at 90 something, and that's still being shown today.
Right.
And it's hard to find things in this newer generation, or even in the generation I grew up in, that's still shown today.
That's memorable, right?
Yeah, that's memorable. It was always the older stuff. You know what I mean? It was just better.
The older stuff had a better lasting impression than the new stuff today. Like if I sat with you and we were hanging out at your place and my place, and I started talking about WrestleMania, the first one, up until a certain one, I can tell you the main events and the matches for maybe the first 12 or 14 WrestleManias straight.
Nice.
And then there came a time, I'm not saying that it was 15, but there was a time somewhere where someone will say, oh, remember WrestleMania such a, oh yeah, that's right. Like if someone tells me WrestleMania 18, I'll be like, oh, Hogan and The Rock. I mean, that was one of the craziest stare downs I've ever seen in wrestling. People were going nuts for like 7 or 8 minutes. They didn't even lock up yet.
And they didn't even touch each other, man. They were just looking. That was beautiful.
What's that? What is that? That's the psychology that's missing today. That's like the business. When Triple H came out to face Undertaker at WrestleMania a couple of years back, the Undertaker was making his appearance for the longest time. He was off of TV. He comes on, he grabs the mic, he's just about to say something, and all of a sudden you hear "time to play the game" because Triple H was out for a long time. So now he gets to the ring, people are popping, they're going nuts, and they're just staring at each other, not saying a word. So one guy looks at the WrestleMania sign, the other guy looks at the other WrestleMania sign, they look at each other, Taker does the thing, Triple H does his thing, And they go, then that didn't even say a word. And the crowd's popping huge because they know what this is. They know what this is. Looking at the signs, it's all about the psychology.
Right. My question is, who today has that power to do that?
Well, recently, I would say Roman Reigns has come a long way.
Yes, that's a good one.
And the funny thing is, I told you earlier, I watched the 11-minute clip with Cena today on that Chris Van Vliet show. And Cena said that he feels, and I agree with him, that by being off of TV for the last 15 or 16 months, COVID, it's been a blessing in disguise for a guy like Roman Reigns, because Roman was suffering and really, lacking that experience on the mic in front of a live crowd. So now, by not having that live crowd messing him up, he was able to go out there, say what he's got to say. I'm the head of the table. You report to me. I'm the man. I'm the champ. You listen to me. He couldn't do all that in front of a live crowd because the second he came out, they just started booing him because they think it's cool to boo. So for someone like him, I think it was advantageous to wrestle in front of nobody. So now when we come back to a live crowd, they know, okay, he's the head of the table. This is why he's a heel. Blah, blah, blah. We know all this. So now they're not just going to boo. They're going to get it and understand what he's doing.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. That's a really good point. They did boo him a lot when he first came.
For no reason, right.
Yeah, for no reason. He couldn't even say anything on the mic. But now, man, he's one guy who's really coming to his own.
Exactly.
He's a guy who has finally extroverted himself. I feel like before Roman Reigns was just like in there. Roman Reigns was inside, but now
it was being forced. It was being forced down the fans' throats. Now this is more of an organic thing. And I can say the same thing for Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley is a physical specimen. The guy's got $1 million body. He's a great fighter. And he's a great wrestler. But he didn't have that charisma. He couldn't speak well. The whole Lana thing was ridiculous. But having him as MVP, I think, has been gold. And now that he's a champ, they surround him around these women with MVP. So the little things he lacks in, they kind of like take you off of that so you don't focus on the negative. And by having him with guys like MVP, it's like Paul Heyman with Brock Lesnar. Certain guys need a mouthpiece.
Exactly. That's
don't have that charisma factor. Guys like you and Booth, like Booth comes out, he dances with the box. You come out with the mist. You guys have your characters honed in perfectly. You don't need someone to represent you.
Exactly.
If you want to have someone like Chairman Al, that's cool, but it's not necessary because you have that charisma. But certain people lack that department. So I think it's been a blessing in disguise to have mouthpieces like MVP and Paul Heyman to bring those wrestlers to the next level.
Absolutely.
I think they'd fall flat.
Yeah, that's a good point. With like MVP, that's a really good point because he came back, man. He formed the Hurt Business, and those guys were doing nothing. And like you said, Lashley, I can see even when I first saw him like on SmackDown years ago, I can like see he's big, but I can see he couldn't talk, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. Everybody can't do it. But having somebody like MVP to do the talking for him, and then you surround him with women and the gold, it just makes him seem like so much of a bigger deal.
Raises it up, exactly. And it's funny you mention it because you get a guy like Bobby Lashley, right? $1 million body, no charisma. Dusty Rhodes, God rest his soul, big and fat, no $1 million body, but boy, can he gab on the mic.
Charisma for days.
Exactly. So you got some great stick men in the business. Mm-hmm. And then you have some $1 million bodies in the business. But if you can get them all wrapped into one, like The Rock, now you're talking money. You got a good stick man and performer.
Man, The Rock, I always use him as an example for promo guys. Like he could talk. And see, he took off in Hollywood. But The Rock had his thing down.
Exactly.
One of my favorite talkers. Who are your favorite promo people? I like I would say for me, Rock, Austin, Macho Man, and Dusty. And Jake the Snake would be all of my
Jake the Snake is one of my favorites of all time because the way he would get your attention, wouldn't be yelling, wouldn't be screaming. They would ask him a question, cool and poised. And I don't even know if you're going to be able to hear me because I'm going to do my best Jake the Snake. It's very simple. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, you and I have a date with destiny. And when I lock you into that DDT, you're not going to remember anything. It's going to be lights out, Ricky, and then Damien will feast on you. He spoke so eloquently and so calm and relaxed that people were like same thing with Sid Vicious. When he would come in before he'd start to yell, it's very simple. And he just do that low talk. And you'd be like, okay, what's this guy saying? Then you got guys like Ultimate Warrior that just start screaming shit that makes no fucking sense. But when you're a kid, you're like, yeah, kick his ass, Warrior. And he's saying, Coke Hogan, all the Warriors. And you're just like, yeah. And meanwhile, you don't know what the fuck the dude is saying, but it has your attention. What he lacked as a wrestler, he was a hype man, Yeah,
he was. He's one hell of a hype man.
Not all guys have the whole package, unfortunately. Like me, I can talk on the mic. I'm not a skinny guy, but I'm not a Hulk Hogan guy. I got a decent build, but I have the gift of gab.
Right.
Certain guys that may lack it physically, could do it verbally. It all depends, or vice versa. Not everyone can be a total package.
Both are just as important because those guys will get butts in the seats. You know what I mean?
Exactly. They sell the tickets.
They'll be the ones that sell you tickets. So both are absolutely important, absolutely vital.
So everyone has a hand in this. And, you may not be the size of a Hulk Hogan, but in today's market, those big behemoths they refer to, unfortunately, now as dinosaurs, there aren't much of them left. It's more cruiserweights to middleweights. So guys like you, and from your size to Boofa's size, is a perfect, scenario. If you have one or two big guys, like a Big Sam and a Boofa, and the rest are your size in that area, it's a nice variety. You don't have too much of one
nice
thing.
Variety.
Yeah, it's all about variety and having the fans be able to pick and choose who they want to cheer or boo for.
Yep.
Yeah,
and with MKW, that's kind of a cool thing that we have going on. We have so many different types of sizes and characters. Another guy who goes back with Booth, Steve the Teacher. He's what, 50? I think 52.
Yeah, he's a little older than me. I seen that guy. I was like, wow, God bless him. It's like what's that guy's name? I think he used to be Pierre Lafitte. I think he wrestles as Pac now, PC, something like that. He's in Ring of Honor. He's in his 50s, and he's got a contract.
Yeah. I know you. Yeah, that guy. Yeah.
So that's I have nothing but respect for guys like that.
Yeah, man. It's hard to keep going at that age, but man, I tell you, those guys are just as important because I look at Steve as our attachment to the old school. I told Steve he's always welcome. And
you take advantage of that big time.
Yeah, we need guys like that.
You do, and unfortunately, whether it's wrestling or the corporate world, people look at guys 50 plus who are in their 20s. Look at this dinosaur. Yeah, but that guy may be a dinosaur to you, but the 30 plus years he's been working before you were a thought, you can learn a hell of a lot from.
Exactly.
That's the dying breed.
Yep, that's a dying breed.
You guys don't have to be total old school, but to learn some of the old school methods and then work it into the new school and make it your own, that's a win, man.
That's invaluable, man. It's invaluable. And I told Steve, one of the things that's important about him, he'll tell you, I can't do all these spots. I'm 52 years old. And I told him, I said, that's great. Because when these young kids try to wrestle you, all these spots they want to do, you're going to force them to have to use psychology and actually
slow it down.
And slow their ass down. So
that's
I said, you are absolutely important to the game.
And it's funny you mention that. That's what Andre the Giant had to do with the Ultimate Warrior. The Warrior came out in his match. He was all hyped, going crazy. And Andre literally just stopped him in his tracks, grabbed him, and basically, "Oh, slow down." That's my best Andre impression. But he told him to slow the hell down. And then he was like, okay, I better listen to him because in real life, he'll fucking squash me.
So, that's a big ass dude.
Yeah, Andre hated Savage because of all the baby oil he used. No, enough with the baby oil. Stop the baby oil. He didn't like the baby oil. But, these old guys they're invaluable, like you said, because you can learn a lot,
Yep.
And, speaking of established guys, Boofa might kill me for saying this, but I'm going to give you a little warning. I asked him on the podcast, and it's open to the public, so I'm not giving out a secret. I said, if you were to wrestle the Zombie Dragon again, even though both you guys are faces, if you had to resort to your old ways, your old tactics, maybe rake a back, poke an eye, would you do what needs to get done in order to win? Or would you be humble and stick to your non-rule breaking ways and just try to win? He's like, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. It could be all bets off. So Zombie Dragon, just watch your back, man, because Buffa is an ally and he's a face of the crowd. They love him dancing with that boombox. But like any other wrestler, he'll do what it has to do to win. So be careful. Just my little warning to you as a non-biased person.
Drop his boombox.
Yeah, well, the boombox is a funny thing because I'm from New York, and I told them back in the days, we all had the boomboxes. Some people referred to them as ghetto blasters. And
ghetto blasters.
I had a big boombox. My best friend, God rest his soul, he had two boomboxes. He had one crazy glued on top of the other. And
holy crap.
And he made two of them one. The bottom one was the huge boombox that had the detachable speakers. He had that big boombox, and he took like Gorilla Glue or Crazy Glue, and he took the smaller boombox and he glued it together. And we'd be walking down Flatbush Avenue in Brooklyn. Shout out to Brooklyn. With this boombox double, glued together. And I'm like looking at him saying, bro, we're going to get fucking robbed. We're going to get our asses kicked. He's like, fuck that shit, man. Who gives a shit? And he's got that shit blasting. And let me tell you something. You can hear that from blocks away. Because it was I can imagine. Together. It was crazy. Crazy. I just love telling that story because when I tell people, either they don't believe me or they're like, holy shit. But it's a true story.
like a low rider passing through.
Exactly. It's like if you saw Eddie Guerrero like popping by on a low rider with Rey Mysterio, going, oh, hey, yo, But man, good times. But as a wrestling fan, I'm happy to see that a more new school guy has that old school mentality and that appreciation, where wrestling started from. And I wish there were more guys like you and Buffer out there that carries the tradition, but also makes it new and reintroduces it as something of their own. So definitely keep up the great work with that because I'm enjoying your matches. You better watch your back, like I said, between Big Sam, Little Johnny, Cole Ray, Joe Blow, whoever else. I mean, they're all coming at you at all different angles.
Man.
Buffa's the IBEW first-time champion, so I know he's busy defending his title moving forward. So for now, I don't think you have to really worry too much about him. But in the future, I would like to see even a triple threat match. All three champions, you, Buffer, and Big Sam locking it up. Doesn't have to be any
that
titles.
Might be one hell of a match.
Just like bragging rights, man. Who's the top dog? Who's the real champ? And I know Buffer's all for that as well. And as a competitor,
I'm down.
I know you're down for that. Definitely.
Oh, yeah.
But have we not covered anything, or is there anything that you wanted to tell your fans, moving forward? Where can you be reached on social media?
All right. So you can reach me on Facebook as Alberto Curry, which is not my real name, but Facebook won't let me change it. So that's that.
You're stuck with
you can reach me on Twitter at TH3 Zombie Dragon. I'm on there a little bit, but because of the VPN issue, sometimes I can't access it as much.
I've heard about the VPN, yes.
It's a bitch. And Instagram well as the Zombie Dragon. Those are where I'm mostly on the Facebook though. The VPN doesn't mess with us too much on there.
I got to search for you on Facebook because I'll definitely welcome you aboard. Speaking of Facebook, I had two Facebooks, my personal, I had one Toddy D Wrestling. I got locked out. I tried getting the password again. They did the face recognition on my cell phone, but they gave me the recognition for my regular Facebook, not my Toddy D Wrestling. So that's defunct. I had thousands of followers. It took me forever to get those followers, but it is what it is. So I'll use my regular Facebook. No big deal. Because I'm mainly a Twitter guy, but I got everybody yelling at me from different directions. Get Instagram. What are you waiting for? My friend said to me the other day, hey, Grandpa, I know you like Twitter, but get the Instagram. I'm like, all right. And meanwhile, I'm like, I got your fucking grandpa, but whatever. But eventually I'll get the Instagram. So it's good that we have all that to follow you because I know your fans want to reach out to you, drop some love and some support for the champ. And myself as a fan, I don't see the MKW title going anywhere in the near future. You've established yourself. You've proven yourself to this point. And I think that someone's really got to do their homework and get up at the crack of dawn to even try to get on the same level as a Zombie Dragon, let alone top him. So
they
don't
got
get
ways
cocky,
to go
because there's always someone out there that's going to want to top you. But if you keep doing what you're doing as a fan, I think you'll be a champion for a very long time. And I wish you nothing but continued success. So before we wrap this up, is there anything else that the Zombie Dragon wants to put out there for anybody? Appearances, shows, anything I didn't cover?
I just want to say that if you're a younger performer listening to this, I hope you're inspired to take some advice from local veterans. You know, a lot of these guys do want to help you. A lot of them are willing to help you. If you can take the time to speak to someone older with more experience, absolutely do it. It can do nothing but hurt you. You know what I mean? It'll make us as performers as a whole much better.
You know what? My sentiments exactly. So I'm going to wrap this up. On behalf of the Zombie Dragon, thank you so very much for being on the podcast. I'm Brooklyn's own Toddy D. We're out of here. We'll see you soon.